York's homicide unit is now searching for a Markham woman who hasn't been seen since Friday, and they're treating her disappearance as suspicious.
Okay, set on fire and shot at 2 separate times, a Markham home has police looking for suspects targeting it.
And many of Canada's Olympians, they're back on home soil tonight from the Paris Summer Games. That's a live shot from Montreal.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lena Latifat. Thanks for joining us and welcome to Live at 5. York Regional Police are treating the disappearance of a Markham woman as suspicious, and detectives with the homicide unit, they're investigating.
CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan joins us live with more on the details of the case. And Steve, you were there when police gave an update live earlier today.
Yeah, Bakari and Lena, I was there for a press conference up at the York Regional Police Headquarters, and the officer did say that the Homicide and Missing Persons Unit is investigating this disappearance as suspicious. The 56-year-old real estate agent was last seen last Friday. She left her house up here in Markham. We're showing you her picture right now. She's 56 years old, works in real estate, left her home here in Markham near Baycliffe and Warden at 9:30 in the morning. She spoke with her family at 11 a.m. on Friday, and that was the last time she was heard from. Her vehicle, a 2024 Mercedes-Benz SUV, white in color, was located by police just south of here, showing you the vehicle as well right now. That was located at Warden and Finch. So the police are asking people in the area here if they recognize the picture of the woman that we just showed, or if they saw that vehicle somewhere in the area and they think that they saw something that may be deemed suspicious. They are being encouraged to give the police a call. We did hear from York Regional Police earlier on today, as we just discussed, and here's some of what we were told. Let's listen.
Ms. Mui is described as 56 years old. She's 5'6", 130 pounds. She has medium brown eyes, straight shoulder length black hair. As I say, her family is concerned. We are treating this as suspicious, and our homicide unit has been called in, as they do for any missing person in an instance where it is considered suspicious.
I asked the officer if they had any physical evidence at either of the scenes, the house or where the car was located, that caused them to be concerned, and she said there was no physical evidence, but the mere fact that this woman went off grid, and that is so out of character for her, the fact that she hasn't been heard from or returned calls to her family since Friday, that is enough reason to be concerned, and this is why the homicide squad is now conducting the investigation. I'll send it back to the desk.
All right, Steve Ryan reporting live tonight. Steve, thanks so much for this. And staying in York Region, police there have released images of a vehicle wanted in a Vaughan homicide.
And police are searching for a black 2013 Ford F-150 with Ontario license plate number Bravo Kilo 15799. The vehicle was reported stolen. It has not been located. And police say on Friday around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, officers responded to a home near Islington and Killoran Avenue for reports of shots fired. 57-year-old Jorge Ivan Navas was rushed to a trauma center with gunshot wounds and was pronounced dead. No arrests have been made, and police are asking witnesses or anyone with information to come forward.
And for the second time in a month, shots have been fired at a home in Markham, and it's the third time that home has been targeted. The sound of gunfire was heard in the Windfields Road and Beckenridge Drive area late Friday night. That's near Brimley Road and 14th Avenue. A video released by York Regional Police shows a vehicle pulling up to the home before shots ring out. The home and a vehicle were hit and multiple shell casings were located. There were people inside the home at the time. Luckily, no one was injured.
In time, the residence was shot at. However, it is a third incident overall that the house has been targeted. Previous incident was also an arson, but shootings have occurred toward the residence now.
All right, the earlier case of shots fired at the home. This happened July 18th when shots were fired from a light colored car. And then 3 days later, a suspect poured a flammable liquid on a vehicle in the driveway before setting it on fire. Neighbors are concerned.
It's awful that especially this is a nice neighborhood.
We're worried about safety.
It was a beautiful area, very quiet and no problem.
And police are looking for additional video or security footage, along with any witnesses with information to come forward.
Okay, Durham police are looking to speak with the driver of a car involved in a deadly multi-vehicle collision in Oshawa.
It happened around noon on Saturday on Ritson Road near Bloor Street. According to police, a black Mercedes was speeding when it struck a white Nissan, triggering a chain reaction crash. The 41-year-old Oshawa woman who was driving the Nissan died at the scene. 9 people were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. No charges have been laid, but the investigation continues. Police would like to speak with the driver of a black Chrysler 300 that was hit during the chain reaction collision.
Right now it's 5:06, 23 degrees, feeling like 27 outside. Let's get a check on the commute with traffic specialist Adjoa Bois. Good evening, Adj.
Oh, good evening, Bakari. And watching a problem into Burlington now. This is on the QEW Niagara bound. Just a stall off to the side, but MTO crews are blocking the right lane and shoulders. So just drive a bit of extra care as you make your way through the area. Gardner's been a slow go as you make your way out of and head into the downtown core. Long-term roadwork continues to be the culprit. And you know what, watching a minor problem. This is on the eastbound lanes of the 401 in the collectors. Fires arriving on scene. Stalled transport partially at the end of the on-ramp lane, and fire's probably going to block this lane. So if you're headed through there, it's a busy go already on the 401 in either direction, but also drive with some caution. We still have problems in North York. It is a collision on Shepherd, just east of Senlac. I'll send it back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Well, some of Canada's Olympians, they are back on home soil tonight from Paris after the best ever showing for Canada at a non-boycotted summer games.
Well, let's go live to CP24's Andrew Brennan, who's at Pearson Airport. Andrew, we had Chopper 24 flying over as the plane landed. We've heard from some of the Olympians, like literally Olympians. What do you have?
Yeah, Bakari, just to confirm, they are literally Olympians. This is the Olympics we're talking about. And we got to speak, okay, so there's 27 medals that Canada got at these summer games, which, as Lena did mention, is the most outside of the 84 Olympics that were boycotted that has been seen for Canada as a showing in a summer games ever. This is, and just also putting it in perspective, I'm just trying to count off the top of my head. We had at least 8 of those medals here today. So almost a third of them just coming off of one plane and getting the chance to speak to the people that won those medals. First of all, let's talk with the phenom herself, of course, the pride of Ontario, of Toronto, Summer McIntosh, just 17 years old. There's so many games theoretically ahead for her. She's already the most decorated Olympian for a single games in the swimming pool, period, for Canada, winning 4 Olympic medals, 3 golds here at the Paris Games, coming back, being the flag bearer for our country as well. We asked her how she felt about that, but also just what she thinks about when there's photos of her with Penny Alexiak when she was, you know, this tall. Now Summer McIntosh is 5'10", but she thinks about the next generation of swimmers, the people that she's inspiring now. Take a listen.
Oh yes, I hope to inspire as many kids as possible. I was once in their shoes not that many years ago even, and I know exactly what it feels like to kind of look up to someone and see them and thinking that it seems so far away, but at the same time knowing that they can do it also. So I hope that they, you know, chase their dreams no matter what sport it is and just kind of find their passions in life and work hard and know that they'll be able to do all the things they want to do as long as they work hard and make the sacrifices that are needed.
And if you want to talk about someone who's made a lot of sacrifices and has worked hard to get where they're at, perhaps a great example of that is the 21-year-old Josh Liendo, who we also spoke to today. He took silver in the 100-meter fly, and that, as a black man, is the first time as a Canadian black man that someone has gotten on the podium at the Olympics. There's questions of representation there. There's also a question of inspiring the next generation for him as well. It's not lost on Liendo how important his victory is, not just for him, but for Canada. Take a listen to this.
I mean, it's definitely a sense of pride for me, for sure. And like, that's basically, it's talked about so much at the Olympics that, you know, it's just everyone should be able to compete in sports. And I think that's, hopefully that can be carried forward and have more of a culture that anyone can compete in any sport.
We got to talk to also the youngest Canadian Olympian of all of the hundreds and hundreds that were sent to Paris this year. We'll share a little bit of her story coming up later in the show. Bakari, Lena, we'll send it back to you for now.
Okay. CP24's Andrew Brennan live at Pearson Airport. Thanks, Andrew. And with that, it's 5:10, 23 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, we will take a look at a new report that's raising concerns about toxic lead in the water at Ontario schools. Stay with us. Welcome back. The city has announced 2 projects that'll create 120 new affordable homes in Toronto.
Mayor Olivia Chow was at 35 Bellevue. This is in Kensington Market to announce that 78 housing units will be built on the site of a city-owned parking lot. The units will be dedicated to those experiencing or at risk of becoming homeless, and rent will be geared to income. 42 new affordable homes will be built at a site on Brock Avenue in Parkdale.
Housing gives people hope. Without a secure and stable home, you can't find work, support your family, plan for a future. If you have additional issues, whether it's mental health or addiction, you cannot begin to go into the path of wellness. Homelessness brings desperation, despair, depression, and it's really dark.
We are in a housing emergency. Anyone who is renting in this city is vulnerable to displacement through eviction, renoviction, and untenable rental costs. We need more non-market housing. Governments have the responsibility, and the KMCLT says this every time, the governments, all levels of governments have the responsibility to house their citizens. They have the responsibility to put in policies that limit the power of predatory landlords that make the housing crisis worse.
Now, the city has already received a funding commitment from the federal government for the Parkdale site and says it's confident of federal funding for the Kensington Market site as well.
Well, a new report is raising concerns about toxic lead in the water at Ontario schools.
Yeah, up to 50% of the province's public schools had at least one test surpass the federal safety guideline of 5 parts per billion since 2019. That's according to a study done by the U of T's Public Health and Investigative Journalism Bureau. It says more than 800,000 students in roughly 2,300 elementary and high schools may have been affected. The provincial government says Ontario has the most comprehensive provincial testing regime for lead in drinking water in the entire country. And a spokesperson for the Environment Minister also says where lead exceeds the Ontario drinking water standard, facility operators must take immediate corrective actions to protect users as directed by the local medical officer of health.
And the union representing Ontario hospital workers is warning morale in the province's medical facilities is deteriorating. QP conducted a study that involved polling more than 700 hospital staff and interviewing over 24 of its members. It says that healthcare workers are in turmoil as they deal with what it called an intensifying staffing crisis. 60% of those surveyed say they don't believe there are enough staff to provide high-quality care. 61% of nurses reported having trouble sleeping. 56% say they dread going to work.
We heard about the daily fear hospital workers felt going to work and being unable to perform the duties of caring for their patients because of understaffing. And several said they just wanted to quit. In other words, this study found that our cherished public health care system is in serious trouble.
What we're going to see as people reach the point of burnout increasingly is that they're going to exit the system en masse, and the system is going to have great difficulty continuing to function in a real way with the population change challenges that it's facing.
A spokesperson for Health Minister Sylvia Jones sent us response to the study, highlighting its investment in nurses. It reads in part, quote, "Our government's most recent budget also includes an additional investment of $743 million to continue to grow our workforce through increased enrollment and retention programs like offering upskilling to current nurses and the extern program, which provides mentorship opportunities to nurses newer to the profession." Together, these changes have allowed Ontario to achieve some of the lowest wait times across the country and the highest attachment.
Well, staying with provincial news, Ontario NDP leader Marit Stiles is calling on the Ford government to make childcare a priority. Stiles joined parents, advocates and workers at a childcare centre in Scarborough this morning. Stiles is demanding the province release its funding formula for $10 a day childcare. She's also calling on the government to work with providers to simplify the formula and give families certainty when it comes to childcare.
Over the past few years, it's become nearly impossible to find a childcare spot. Families all across our province, including right here in Scarborough, are stuck on nerve-wracking and never-ending wait lists. Losing their daycare spots or having to take 2 to 3 buses to the next available facility, it's a mess. It's a mess. And since promising affordable childcare, Doug Ford and his Conservative politicians have done nothing but create chaos and uncertainty.
So a little bit of background. In May, the province announced it would implement a new way of funding the national $10 a day program, but no details have been released.
Right now it's 5:18, 23 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, a third Listeria death has been linked to plant-based beverages. We'll tell you more right after this. Welcome back. A third person has died as a result of an outbreak of Listeria infections linked to recalled plant-based beverages. The Public Health Agency of Canada now says 15 other people have been hospitalized due to the outbreak. The recall affects several milk alternatives sold by Silk and Great Value. Most of the reported illnesses are among women aged 50 and over, with 13 of the confirmed cases in this province. Now, if you find the affected product in your home, you are being advised to throw it out. Health officials say symptoms may appear between 3 and 70 days after exposure.
Well, the Canadian Taxpayers Federation is urging the Ford government to make its gas tax cut permanent. Well, the measure was first introduced in 2022. It's been extended several times since then. It's set to expire at the end of the year. The Federation claims that taxes make up about 34% of the price at the pumps in Ontario, and that the gas tax cut has saved a typical 2-car household almost $900 since it was first imposed.
What we found is that Ontario actually has the 4th lowest gas tax rate in the country right now, and that has to do with the Ford government's gas tax cut, which represents about 6.4 cents per litre. Now, Newfoundland has cut their gas tax by more. Manitoba, it's currently suspended. So there are, of course, differences nationwide, but it's making a meaningful difference. This 6.4 cent per litre gas tax cut, as I said, adding up over time, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of dollars for the typical family.
I definitely think we should freeze the gas tax. It's better than it going up any higher.
How do you feel when you get to the pumps every day and you're looking at 162, 165?
It's brutal. Costs me a lot of money to fill my tank, so it would definitely be nice if it was lower.
It's high. I mean, everybody in the world thinks it's high. When you watch the news, everyone's complaining about it. But it's like everything else. Everything's high. It's a sign of the times.
Life now became so expensive for everyone, so we can't afford any more taxes.
Okay, originally the cut was proposed as a way to combat inflation and offset the federal carbon tax.
Well, the CBC paid $18.4 million in bonuses this year after hundreds of jobs at the public broadcaster were eliminated.
The documents, they were obtained through access to information laws. They show CBC Radio Canada paid out bonuses to nearly 2,000 employees for the 2023-24 fiscal year. More than $3.3 million of that was paid to 45 executives. The board approved the bonuses in June, but has refused to disclose how much was paid out, even though members of parliament have been asking for the figure since last December. 141 employees were laid off. 205 vacant positions were eliminated at CBC Radio Canada.
Canada's new Human Rights Commissioner has stepped down before even putting in a single day on the job. Birju Datani resigned today after agreeing to go on a leave last week. This comes amid an investigation into past comments he has made about Israel that were deemed anti-Semitic by the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs. In an online post today, Datani announced his resignation, adding he remains a steadfast believer in the Commission's work, mandate, and its importance to our democracy.
Right now it's 5:23, 23 degrees. This is Live at 5, and up ahead, the last Timbit, the musical. It's making its debut on Crave today.
For far too long, my friend.
Welcome back. The Toronto Zoo has had to euthanize one of its mooses.
Yeah, the zoo says that Truly's health began to deteriorate over the last several months, and the decision was made to put her down last week. Truly was 11 years old, which the zoo says is beyond the life expectancy for moose in human care. An autopsy suggested there may have been issues with her intestinal tract, but more tests need to be done. There's now only one moose remaining at the zoo.
Well, a film inspired by real Canadian stories is out today.
But a party is no reason to brave this storm.
Oh, Shane, you've been in the woods for far too long, my friend.
The last Timbit follows a group of strangers who wait out the snowstorm of the decade in a Tim Hortons, filmed in front of a live studio audience at Toronto's Elgin Theatre. The last Timbit premieres exclusively on Crave today.
This was a really exciting project. Tim Hortons wanted to celebrate their 60th anniversary and thought a musical would be a great way to do it. And we put together a wonderful team, writers Britta and Annika Johnson, Nick Green, to write a story inspired by true events about a group of Canadians snowed in during a blizzard. But this is a story about a really interesting group of people. Everybody's looking for connection. There's a mother and teenage daughter at the center of it that are experiencing some tension. There's a competition to pass the time. That's where we get the name of the show, The Last Timbit. And it's really funny. And there's great humor, great songs, but there's also a real heart to it.
All right, the musical is inspired by 2010 blizzard in Ontario. Left a group of people from different walks of life stranded in a Tim's restaurant.
How Canadian. 5:28, 23 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Yeah, the York Regional Police Homicide Unit is investigating the suspicious disappearance of a Markham woman. All right, set on fire and shot at 2 separate times, a Markham home has police looking for suspects targeting it.
York's Homicide Unit is now searching for a Markham woman who hasn't been seen since Friday. We're going to tell you more about that.
And many of Canada's Olympians, they're back home on soil today from the Paris Summer Games.
You're watching Live at 5. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Lena Latifat.
Now, Bakari Savage, York Regional Police are treating the disappearance of a Markham woman as suspicious, and detectives with the Homicide Unit are now investigating.
CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan joins us live with more on the details of this case. Steve, why do you think police are considering this suspicious?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that I asked the York Regional Officer today, and she said it's because it is out of character for this 56-year-old woman to go missing. So she has not returned any calls from family or friends. Her vehicle was located just south of this location. We're showing you her picture right now, and she has not been seen or heard from since Friday. That's the reason why the Homicide and Missing Persons Unit is now investigating this occurrence. There is no physical evidence at the scene near where her car was located at the Finch and Warden on Friday, nor is there any physical evidence at her home up here near Baycliffe and Warden. It's the mere fact that she went off-grid, and it is so out of character for her that the police are concerned for her whereabouts. So she was last seen 9:30 Friday morning, leaving her address here at the Baycliffe and Warden. She spoke with family at 11 a.m. and her vehicle, a white SUV, a Mercedes-Benz 2024, was discovered or recovered. We're showing you the car right now as well. You can see it's a brand new Mercedes-Benz that was recovered just south of here at Finch and Warden, but there's been no sign of her. Her family are very concerned. They've contacted the police, and now the Homicide and Missing Persons Unit are actively investigating this case, looking for the circumstances surrounding her disappearance. We did hear from York Regional Police earlier on today as well, and here is some of what we were told.
The last known time that she was seen was at 9:30 that morning. We don't know where she was going. As you know, as realtors are, their schedules can be quite all over the place, so we're not sure. That would be something that our investigators would look into, is what was her schedule, what was she doing, where was she supposed to be on Friday, and where was she supposed to be throughout the weekend.
So she left her house Friday at 9:30 a.m. near Baycliff and Ward up here in Markham. Her white Mercedes-Benz SUV was located just south of here at Warden and Finch. She was last heard from at 11 a.m. on the phone. She was talking to a family member. No sign of her since then. This is why the police are asking the public for their assistance. If you have information pertaining to this woman's disappearance, you are being asked to give York Regional Police a call. So back to the desk.
Okay, CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan. Thanks a lot, Steve. Well, for the second time in a month, shots have been fired at a home in Markham.
And it's the third time that home has been targeted. Let's go live to CTV Toronto's Janice Golding for the latest on the investigation. What are the homeowners saying about this, Janice?
Hi, Lena. Well, we did knock on the door. They refused to speak to us. They just said no, no, no. So we haven't spoken to them directly. However, police are saying that there were people inside the home at the time of the latest incident. Thankfully, no one was injured. Now, this all started here in the Brimley Road and 14th Avenue area of Markham on July the 18th. At that time, police revealed surveillance video that showed a white-colored vehicle approaching a home in the area, and they let loose several shots from the rear of the vehicle. Just 3 days after that, a person showed up at the home wearing a black Adidas hoodie, a black mask, and red gloves, and they brought flammable liquid to the house in a red jerry can. They set a car on fire. The jerry can also caught flame, so they tossed it at the base of a tree. And today you can actually still see scorch marks in this driveway as well. The tree was damaged, so several branches have been cut off. And then just last Friday, a third incident happened at this house. You can see a dark-colored vehicle pull up to the house, and then someone lets loose with at least a dozen shots. They go right through a car. We were right at the front door. You can see bullet holes that shattered the front glass door, the aluminum siding, as well as the garage door. So at this point, police are quite concerned. They do believe all three of these attacks were targeted, but they're not saying why or what the potential motive might be. They are asking, however, people in the area who may have collected any surveillance or dash cam video to contact them, or if they have any information at all, to contact officers at the Criminal Investigation Bureau at 5 Division, or of course Crime Stoppers if they want to remain anonymous. Bakari, Lena.
Yeah, and this is so disturbing, Janice. I'm sure it's left neighbors on edge too.
Well, that's right. We did speak to several neighbors who say that this is a very, very quiet neighborhood. They are not used to this kind of police activity. They say they haven't seen police up and down in the area every day for the last few weeks. Many of them did not hear the shootings. One took place at 11:30 at night. The latest one took place at 3:42 in the morning. The arson again happening overnight. So they say that it's happening while they're sleeping, but they are concerned that it just keeps happening. It's actually on a small court. So obviously neighbors are very worried as to what's happening and if there could be stray bullets that fly hurt someone in their own homes. Lena.
CTV Toronto's Janice Golding live in Markham for us tonight. Janice, thanks so much for this.
Okay, York police, they've released images of a vehicle wanted in a Vaughan homicide.
Police are searching for a black 2013 Ford F-150 with the Ontario license plate BK15799. The vehicle was reported stolen and has not been located. Police say on Friday around 2 p.m., officers responded to a home near Islington and Killoran Avenue for reports of shots fired. 57-year-old Jorge Ivan Navas has been rushed to a trauma center with gunshot wounds and pronounced dead. No arrests have been made, and police are asking witnesses or anybody with information to get in touch.
Right now it's 5:36, feeling like 26 outside. Let's get a check on the 5 o'clock commute with Adjua Nsia Yabwa, who warns me There's no such thing as rush hour.
There isn't. It's just a lot slower out there, guys, on the major routes, and we're dealing with a few problems now. Now a collision. I was going to say East 401 was problem-free. Now I can't say that anymore. So this is the eastbound lanes of the 401, just past Dixon Martin Grove. Center lane blocked at this crash. So if we're making our way on the eastbound side, still looking at delays from as far back as the 410. Then westbound on the 401, a few issues. First, westbound in the collectors on the approach to Bayview. Right lane blocked at the stall, and then further west on the 401, my camera went out. It is a stall in the collectors in the left lane, at least the DVP, problem-free, but delays from Don Mills up to the 401 outside of camera view, headed towards Vaughan. Getting word of problems on the 400. It's on the southbound ramp that takes you to Teston. It's blocked for a stalled transport truck. I'll send it back to you both.
All right, Adjoa, thanks so much for this. Durham police, they're looking to speak with the driver of a car involved in a deadly multi-vehicle collision in Oshawa.
Okay, so this happened around noon on Saturday on Ritson Road near Bloor Street. And according to police, a black Mercedes was speeding when it hit a white Nissan. That triggered a chain reaction crash. The 41-year-old Oshawa woman who was driving the Nissan died at the scene. 9 people were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. No charges have been laid, but the investigation continues. Police want to speak to the driver of a black Chrysler 300 that was hit during the chain reaction collision.
It is now 5:38. We're sitting at 23 degrees in the city tonight, and you're watching Live at 5.
We're going to go live to Pearson Airport. This is where some of Canada's Olympians have just returned home. Well, some of Canada's Olympians are back on home soil from Paris after the best ever showing for Canada at a non-boycotted Summer Games.
Let's go live to CP24's Andrew Brennan, who's been taking in all the action at Pearson Airport. You've been speaking with some pretty big names, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. One thing this told me is how much you could accomplish by the age of 17 versus being quite literally double that age and what you haven't accomplished. We talked to Summer McIntosh, Lena Bakari, and for having the most decorated Olympian in a single games in the pool, period, just what she's able to not just impart in terms of how she got there, but also thinking about the next generation and also articulating that as you're just getting off of a plane being swarmed by people. I mean, pretty impressive in and of itself. So one thing that McIntosh did say is that being able to, win 3 gold, 4 medals overall, but also being chosen as a flag bearer, of course, being an honor in and of itself. But she points back to what she did in the pool as what she's taking away as ultimately the big victory here.
I would probably say being flag bearer was honestly amazing, but I wouldn't be able to do that without obviously the racing that I did. So favorite race-wise, I'd probably say was the 200 fly, but overall it just was amazing games, and France did such a good job at hosting.
Where are the medals right now?
They're in my bag in a little fanny pack because the cases that they're in, they're so big I couldn't carry them in the huge cases, but they're all kind of together in a little bag.
And they're also quite heavy. You wouldn't expect that because they're only 1% gold. But that being said, we did get a chance to hear from some of the other Olympian medalists that came home to quite literally a hero's welcome here. One thing that Kylie Moss was saying, another hometown hero, is that she thinks of all that she was able to do in the pool, but thinking more so as well about the memories that she's created. That in and of itself is something that she will be holding on to forever.
Obviously the medal is, and the outcome is important, and that's what we worked for this last whole Olympic cycle, but also what sticks a bit longer, I think, is the memories that we've made as a Team Canada, the different moments and experiences that make the Olympic Games and make them so special.
We also got a chance to speak to Canada's youngest Olympian. Faye Egbert is just 14 years old. She's competing at 14 years old. She's a skateboarder, and we'll have a little bit of this coming up later in the evening, Bakari and Lena, but it turns out if you're an Olympian, you don't get in trouble if you skateboard in an airport. So I guess there's something to learn there too. I'll send it back to you both.
All right.
It pays to be an Olympian, right? CP24's Andrew Brennan. Thanks a lot, Andrew.
It's now 5:43, 23 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Yeah, coming up, we're going to take a look at a study that shows morale's deteriorating among Ontario hospital workers, and it could be impacting the care that patients receive.
Welcome back. The union representing Ontario hospital workers is warning morale in the province's medical facilities is deteriorating. QP conducted a study that involved polling more than 700 hospital staff and interviewing over 24 members. It says healthcare workers are in turmoil as they deal with what it called an intensifying staffing crisis. 60% of those surveyed say they don't believe there are enough staff to provide high-quality care. 61% of nurses reported having trouble sleeping, and 56% say they dread going to work.
We asked the healthcare workers we interviewed what needs to change. Not surprisingly, they said they needed more staff, more manageable workloads, more supports, and an end to privatization, and more respect from their management and the public.
What becomes more and more stark for people is the gap between the training that they were told, the kind of care that they were trained to provide, and the shortfall in terms of what they're actually able to do for patients. Over time, this just corrodes people.
A spokesperson for Health Minister Sylvia Jones sent us a response to the study, highlighting its investment in nurses. That reads in part, our government's most recent budget also includes an additional investment of $743 million to continue to grow our workforce through increased enrollment and retention programs, like offering upskilling to current nurses, and the external program, which provides mentorship opportunities to nurses newer to the profession. Together, these changes have allowed Ontario to achieve some of the lowest wait times across the country and the highest attachment.
Well, Goodyear Tire is investing $575 million to modernize and expand its Napanee plant. The factory is expanding capacity to manufacture all tires, including EV and all-terrain. The project will create 200 new, highly skilled manufacturing jobs by 2027 and secure more than 1,000 jobs in Napanee. It'll also get the plant to net zero emissions by 2040.
As I'm out making a pitch for Canada internationally, yes, we talk about our resources. We talk about having more trade deals than just about anyone else. We're the only G7 economy with a free trade deal with every other G7 economy. But our single greatest competitive advantage is Canadians themselves. Companies from around the world are trying to connect with the reliable, educated, ambitious, serious workforce that we have right across the country.
Once built and operational, this new expanded plant will employ more than 1,000 people and be a huge boost to our province's growing auto and EV industry. That's because here in Ontario, we're building an end-to-end EV supply chain, connecting our critical minerals in the north and clean steel manufacturers in Hamilton and Sault Ste. Marie to automakers and parts and battery manufacturers across the province.
Investments include facility expansion, additional modernization, new state-of-the-art equipment, as well as new technology for the coming times of the growth in EV, as well as our mobility in things such as the sensor tires, connected mobility with the OEMs and with our customers. We're going to add 200 additional highly skilled manufacturing jobs, a 25 increase on our base of the 800 amazing associates we've got here today.
The federal government is adding $44 million to the project, while the province is contributing $20 million.
It's 5:50, 23 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And coming up, it's that time of summer to watch the most anticipated meteor shower of the year. Okay, so you may have caught a glimpse if you looked up overnight. It's peak Perseid meteor shower time, offering up to 100 meteors per hour. This is according to NASA.
And for more on this, we're joined live by Sarah Rugheimer, astrophysics professor at York University. Sarah, welcome back to the program. Thanks so much for joining us. So this is supposed to be the strongest meteor shower of the year. For those who don't know, what is a Perseid meteor shower?
Yeah, so a meteor shower happens because a comet is passing by, and the debris from that comet enters our atmosphere. And those are the streaks that you see, the quote unquote shooting stars. They're not stars. They're this breaking up of comet debris material entering our atmosphere.
Okay, so Sarah, you touched on it a little bit. Experts say that they should look like fireballs. Can you go into a little bit more detail and talk about the experience?
Yeah, so I mean, hopefully viewers have seen a shooting star before. I typically think of a fireball as a much brighter one, so those are much more rare. I've only seen one or two in my life, but the shooting star phenomenon happens quite a bit. And this one is a very reliable meteor shower. It happens every August, and so it's one that you can always plan a family vacation around or get out to a dark sky area to see.
Okay, that brings me to my next question. I believe we are going to be experiencing the peak tonight. When and where is the best time to watch? What's your advice?
I think the most important thing is to try to get to as dark a place as you can, because the darker the sky is, the better chance you have of seeing these meteors. If you're surrounded by bright lights, you're just not going to see them, even if they're there. Also, looking out at the sky right now, it's a bit cloudy. So I'd also tell people still look for the next couple days. This isn't just going away immediately. The meteor shower has been here for a couple weeks. It'll last for another week or so. But the peak is tonight. And so that's when you have the highest number of meteors. The most important thing is to try to be in a dark place.
Okay, Sarah, I have to work late tonight and then early tomorrow. I'm not going to get a chance to get out of town until this weekend. Yeah. What are my chances looking like for Saturday night?
You'll still probably see some. So if you can get to a dark sky area this weekend, absolutely go. Ideally, you can be outside after the moon has set. That also increases your chances. And you want to look towards the northeast. So these, they will be over a large part of the sky, but in particular, they're going to be emanating from the constellation Perseid, which is right below Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia is that W-looking constellation in the night sky that's more easily recognizable.
And if someone is really into this stuff and they want to head to a different location tonight, where should you be going? What would be your best vantage point, Sarah?
I would look at a cloud weather map and try to go where there's less clouds. That's my number one recommendation.
Okay, and also, Sarah, a lot of people are going to be stargazing in general trying to look for this. Can you recommend any apps that can help people recognize any of the constellations or anything?
Yeah, I use Skyview Lite. It's pretty good. It's free, and it just uses your phone GPS and also the gyroscope, so you can hold your phone up on the night sky and see the constellation right where it is, and you can see the stars and the planets, and you can put in a constellation. It'll direct you to that. It'll tell you which direction to move your body, which is super helpful, as well as like objects, like say you want to find Mars, it'll tell you where that is, and it's a good one.
That helps out a whole lot.
So very cool. Sarah Rugheimer, professor of astrophysics at York University. Thanks so much for breaking this down for us. We so appreciate it.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Well, the new study is projecting that cancer cases and deaths among men will surge over the next 2 decades. Researchers
analyzed data on 30 different types of cancer in 185 countries and territories to come up with their outlook. They say overall cases among men will jump from 10.3 million in 2022 to 19 million in 2050. Deaths are expected to rise from 5.5 million to 10 million over the same period. The study says stronger healthcare access and infrastructure are needed to prepare for the projected increase.
Okay, let's mix this up a little bit, Lena. The Oscars are going to have a new host in 2025 because Jimmy Kimmel has announced that he's not going to be returning to the award show for a third year, stating that he needs a break.
Thank you for that partial standing ovation. And welcome to the 96th Oscars, everybody. Look at these beautiful human actors.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not an easy job, right? He's done it. He's seen it all. Kimmel making the announcement on a podcast saying it was just too much last year and he didn't want to deal with it again. The comedian is also taking a summer break from his late night show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, with several guest hosts stepping in, including Canadian Ryan Reynolds.
Okay, let's talk some baseball. The Blue Jays open up a 6-game road trip tonight in Los Angeles.
Swinging a drive. Get up, Paul. Get up, Paul. Get out of here. And God!
In the series finale against the Athletics yesterday, Chris Bassett was rocked, giving up 6 runs in the first inning. Dalton Varsho got the Jays on the board in the 4th, but that just wouldn't be enough. The Jays ended up losing the game 8-4. Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s hit streak also came to an end after 22 games. The Jays will be looking to avoid their 3rd straight loss when they take on the Angels tonight. First pitch is set for just after 9:30.
It's 5:59, 23 degrees, feeling like 26. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
Thanks so much for joining us. CTV News at 6 is coming up next.